Hey everybody, what's going on? This is Paul, your hip hop relationship and recovery coach, and I'm bringing to you another Kick Your Butt Out episode. And y'all know what it is. As usual, before I get off into what we're going to be talking about today, um, I have to say what I always say, and I strongly encourage us all, to get this into our thought processes, right? So that we can incorporate this thing into our lives. And that is, if you're looking for a butt, it's going to always be easy to find one. And that, my friends, everybody who listening, is a promise. All right. All right. Again, I'm so grateful that I've been given the honor and the privilege and the blessing to be able to bring content before myself and all of the people out there in YouTube world and Kick Your Butt Out world, so that we can just think about some of the things that's in our way, right? And so once we think about and find out the things that are in our way, that's a but. We can do what we need to do, whether collectively or individually, to move these things out of the way so that we can walk in the greatness and the phenomenon and the extraordinary potential and all of these wonderful things that God has called us to, and the wonderful people that we are in the eyes of God. So again, I'm honored and privileged to be able to do this. And so every time I come on here, I want to make sure that I'm saying what I'm told to talk about. I'm not what I think that I should be talking about. I want to say and speak about what I know that is supposed to be talked about with each episode. And so today, I would just want to kind of talk about, many of you out there who know me knows that I am a relationship and recovery coach. Um, I started off as a recovery coach when I got into um, service, right? Into serving people. And again, I started off as a recovery coach, right? And during that time, many of my clients who I had been working with, uh, I found a common theme that was going on with many of them. And that was, you would have men and women who would stop using whatever their substances or vices were. They would, get away from that kind of stuff, kind of get a little help with it and all that kind of stuff. And they 30, 60, 90 days later, into this healthy or new way of life, they many times I've had people come to me and say, I've met the love of my life, and he or she is this, that, or the other. And then they get into these relationships with, that they feel like is that one, is that relationship, only to find out that it wasn't. And unfortunately, both parties in that relationship ended up, with lots of regret. And I understood that many of these people, and I remember being in that same situation myself. Many of these people wasn't ready for a relationship with their significant other because they haven't learned how to create a healthy relationship with themselves. And so I decided, and thank God, that I've become certified as a relationship coach so that I can assist people not only with their recovery, but assist people in building healthy relationships with themselves first before they go out into the world and start building relationships with other people, whether it's family members, rebuilding those relationships, children, old friends, professional lives, and even significant others. So that's those are some of the reasons why I've decided, and to become a relationship and a recovery coach. Because I want to assist people with recovery as well as assist people in building healthy relationships. And one of the common things that I've also seen when it comes to relationships is, I've had couples come into my service, right? Excuse me, allowing me to serve them, and I came to find in many situations that it wasn't the relationship or the marriage that was the mess or the problem. It was the fact that the person or persons, they were the ones that was the problem in the relationship or in the marriage that's caused in the relationship or the marriage to be strained. And many of them haven't gotten over the hump, right? They really haven't gotten over the hump, rightly, because lots of them wasn't willing to do the self work, the work on themselves, so that they can heal the relationship. And that's what has to happen. Um, we want healthy relationships, but we are not willing to do what we need to do in terms of the work on ourselves and for ourselves, so that we can show up healthy in these relationships. I'll put it to you like this. I remember years ago, in the mid 80s, maybe early 90s, there was this actor. Guy couldn't act at all, but he made many movies, and his name was Steven Seagal. And I remember one of his movies back in, again, it had to be in the late 80s or the early 90s. Anyway, the name of his movie was called Marked for Death. And in this particular movie, it was he was a law enforcement guy looking to stop crime in the city, the normal things, right? And some of the criminals that he was fighting against in the movie was the Jamaican posse, and it was a couple of other different races of organizations that he was fighting against. And there was a scene inside of this movie where the Jamaican posse kingpin was meeting with another kingpin from another drug organization in another race. And in that conversation that the two were having, the Jamaican kingpin said to the guy, he said, everybody wants to go to heaven, but nobody wants to die. And that stuck with me ever from then, obviously, to now. And I'm saying that to say that's what happens, or what's going on in many of these relationships uh, that's continuing to have these strains. And that's why I've decided to title today's episode of Kick Your Butt Out, but we want to skip. We want to skip all of the work that needs to be done and get to the promised land when it comes to in terms of what marriage and relationships are supposed to be like. And I have to say, in all honesty, I have to say this. I remember somebody told me this in my early recovery. They said that there's no elevator or escalator to success or to recovery. You have to take the stairs. Um, Another thing that somebody had told me years ago when I was still struggling, just like many of these relationships are, when I was still struggling and going through, uh, it was a counselor that had spoken to me. He made me mad at that time. However, looking back, he was 100% correct. And it was my second treatment, right? I was still living in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and I was going, it's ironic that we're talking about relationships, going to, wanting to go to heaven, but not wanting to die or wanting to skip. I had went to treatment for the second time because I didn't want to, I didn't want to lose my marriage, only to find out and not really wanting to accept that the marriage was over anyway. It was really over. Took me many years after 2004 to realize that, to embrace that, um, and just go ahead and let it go. It took me many years. But anyway, going back, I remember he said to me, he said, Paul, I see that you really do want recovery, but you wanted the easier, softer way, and there is none. Third thing, and I'm going somewhere with all these quotes and examples that it was given to me. The third thing, I remember when I first started my recovery journey in 2015. Now, I had already had a relationship with God for many years before 2015. However, but I continued to struggle with drugs and struggle being unhealthy in relationships and struggle with many things because, again, I wasn't doing the work that needed to be done. But in 2015, when I decided that I was ready to transition and heal and be a better a better version of who I am and have a healthy relationship with God and healthy relationship with myself and significant other and children and so forth and so on. I remember coming to God and I said, God, because again, I knew God already. I said, God, I know you. I know how awesome and wonderful you are because you've showed up in my life many occasions. And I know without a shadow of a doubt that with these events that happened in my life, it couldn't have been nobody but you, right? No shadow of, no question. I know it was him. I know it was you, God. And I said, so with that being said, because I know how powerful you are, that nothing is impossible for you, I said, I know that you could just snap your finger, say a word, blow your breath, whatever. You and I'll be recovered. This is what I said to God. Can't make this up. Bargaining with him. Yeah, I know you could do this. And here's what his reply to me was. He said, yes, I can. He said, but I'm not going to do that. He said, because of two reasons. First and foremost, I'm not going to get the glory and you won't learn anything. And when we talking about not skipping and being able to get to a place with where our marriages and all of these other relationships that we are in and a part of are healthy, we got to do the work so that we can learn something. Why am I saying all of this? Because I know of many couples, and I was a part of that myself, that go to many, the counselors, we go to counselors, spiritual counselors, spiritual therapists, spiritual coaches, and I'm talking about people in the church, even people outside the church. We go to all of these services, that God has created and put out there to help us, right? Workshops, marriage conferences, you name it. It's so many different services that God has put in place, excuse me, to help us to build healthy relationships and marriages. And I found that many people, and I was a part of that as well. We continue to go to all of these services, right, with the exact same issues that we came to the first services about. It's almost like a revolving door. We're continuing to go to these services with the same issues. And it's almost like we are hoping that in this, okay, well, when I go to this one, it's these people who are going to be facilitating it. So I'm looking for them to say that magic word or that magic wand or so forth and so on to, and that'll be that thing that's gonna help fix my marriage. That'll be that thing that'll help fix my spouse. That'll be that thing that'll help fix my relationship. I'm looking for that magic word or that magic potion. And I have to tell y'all, it's not coming. This is not about magic. This is not about continuing to go to these things and thinking that somebody's going to say something that's going to be like the poof, and your relationship and marriage is going to be healthy. Again, we go into these places and we having this. We're not even going with new issues to work on. We going with the exact same things that we started off with, and some wisdom is saying that you still there because you haven't done the work. I remember being in school when I was a kid. You weren't going to. I knew people that was in the same grade over and over and over again because you weren't going to go to the next grade if you didn't meet the requirements to get there. And you're not going to have a healthy relationship if you're not meeting the requirements to go there. But again, like I said, we want to skip. Um, again, being a person in long-term recovery, one of the things that I learned in early recovery, and millions and millions of people who have who the 12 steps, right, was a part of their recovery process. It has always been said you can't skip any of the steps, and many people wanted to skip some of the steps. Oh, I want to deal with it that. I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to deal with that. And the people, again, I was one of them. All of us who skipped, felt like we was going to be able to skip this step or stop right here. We went back. We digressed. And again, I'm seeing many relationships, professional and personal, that's going through the exact same thing. What did I just say? Let me simplify. You take a few steps forward, 1,000 steps back. Do all of this coaching and counseling and therapy, and again, not doing the work that needs to be done, not doing the deep work that needs to be done after the coaching and the therapy and the small groups and the counseling and all of that kind of stuff is over with. When you concluded all that as a couple or even as a person, I've always found that when the person or the people didn't do the deep work, they digress and they went further back than what they was before they came to the service that they were, the services that they were getting. Here's a scripture that can line up with that. Jesus talked about when an unclean spirit goes out of a man, it goes to dry places seeking rest. And when it finds none, it says that I'll go back to that house from whence I came. He says that it goes back and it finds the house swept clean and unattended, ain't doing nothing. Swept clean and unattended, ain't paying attention. Swept clean and unattended, ain't focused. Swept clean and unattended, hasn't and haven't been doing the work that needs to be done. And he says he goes and gets 7 demons more wicked than himself, and they enter a man, or they enter a person, or they enter a relationship. I'm kind of paraphrasing it now. And the situation is worse off than what it was before. I'm watching it happen all around us. And what am I saying? It doesn't have to be that way. We have to stop wanting to skip and put in the work that needs to be put in so that we can have the healthy relationships that we are capable of having. And the first thing we need to stop skipping is the personal work that we need to do with ourselves. Like I said, I've said it to many couples. It's not the marriage that's the problem, it's you. It's not the relationship that's the problem, it's you. We not I've I'm where I am in my recovery. Again, speaking with God, I remember 2015, God has said, you're not dealing with why of my usage. Why I keep using. And God said, the reason why you keep using is because you're not dealing with why you use. And the minute that I start, or the second that I learned that and I started to do the work and deal with the why, I have not touched anything that's going to kill my body in terms of drugs or cigarettes, right? For 9 years and 4 months and counting, because I dealt with and I'm still working through the why of my usage. And you out there who are listening to this podcast, you need to do the same thing. You need to start to do the work and deal with why you have an unhealthy relationship with yourself. Stop going and asking people to help you to fix your wife or your husband or the marriage before you go to find somebody and ask them, help me fix me. Help me fix me. You cannot skip that step. If you want to go to the next level in terms of leveling up in the healthy relationships, you can't. There's no way you're going to be able to get it if skipping that part and that process first. Like I said, I'm watching this before my eyes, whether it's clients or personal. I'm watching it before my eyes, and it bothers me and hurts me. No judgment on anybody, because I was, Paul said, but for the grace of God, there go I. That's me. I've been there, done it, know how hurtful and harmful it is. I'm watching people and I'm saying to myself, like, all they got to do is the work that they need to do on themselves. And they really ain't paying attention to it. There's many people that I've said that to, like pleaded with people that I know, that I love and that I care about, that's close to me. I've pleaded with them. Listen, please do the work on you. Forget the marriage right now. Start doing your work. And guess what? Not one of them has listened to me and started doing the work on themselves. But here's the but they all continuing to go to marriage small group and freedom group and counseling and workshops and therapy and all these. And I'm not talking about anybody. I'm not talking about anybody. I'm just pointing out what I'm seeing. And all you got to do is the work that needs to be done on you, and stop skipping that step. Another situation, I've again, but we want to skip. I know of people, again, people who have come into my office, right, into my service, and even in my personal life. People who's in my personal life, and we've had conversations, and you hear the old saying, we haven't, we were taught uh, to not to really deal with the issues. We just sweep them up under the rug. Here's the problem with that. Now, I want to take y'all on a trip. I want to take you on a because I'm a visionary. I envision things, right? Think about in your house or in your home or wherever you live, you have a rug in the middle of your living room, dining room, or wherever. You have this rug in the middle of it, and in cleaning up your house, right? Instead of putting the stuff where it belongs and throwing things away that needs to be thrown away, you put it up under the rug. in the middle of your house. And you've been doing that for years. It doesn't even have to be a many years, but the people who I know, it's been many years. Again, I used to be that guy sweep up under the rug, not deal with it. I'll deal with it tomorrow, or I'm not going to deal with it at all, and it harmed me. But back to what I was saying, back to the vision. So you're in your house, and you have this beautiful house, but when you're cleaning up or supposed to be cleaning up, instead of you putting the things where they belong, throwing things away that needs to be thrown away, you're putting everything under the rug, right? And so if you're doing that, this rug is starting to become a mountain in the middle of your house. Metaphorically speaking, a lump in the middle of your life. And it's growing. The problem with that, obviously that's a problem, with the fact that you're not really cleaning your house, your inner house, your self house. The problem with that, the bigger problem with that is that, think about you walking through your house and you see this big old lump in the middle of your house and you walk around it day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year. And then you bring people into your house, into that mess. And some people are meant to be with you for the rest of your life. And you want them to come into your life and deal with that. That's what happens. We pushing all of these things under the rug, under the rug, under the rug. And when we go into these marriages and into these relationships that we want to be in and with for the rest of our lives, that's the plan. We bring in more than our walk with God. Because people talk about what are you bringing to the table, right? We bring in more than our walk with God. Maybe, if it's a blended family, our children, our careers, our visions, our dreams. We bring in a whole lot of mess too. And then again, we wonder why the marriages are strained. Because we're bringing all of that stuff that's under that rug that's not been dealt with to the marriage too. And the other party, right? The other spouse who came into your life and knows that it's there, I have a problem with that. Knows that it's there and starts to walk around it too. Gets used to walking around it too. So if they are willing to do that, that means that they have a rug with a bunch of stuff up on it in their lives as well. And again, the tragedy is that we walk around it day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year, and act like it's not there. And again, let's think of this as our home, right? The simple thing to do, it's simple. The simplest thing to do is to lift that rug up. Get your cleaning supplies, your garbage or whatever it is that you need. Get your stuff and clean that junk up. Just that simple. But we want to skip. We want to go to heaven, but we don't want to die. We want to have heavenly relationships, but our houses are messy as all get out. And we okay with that. That's a problem. I'm here with this episode of Kick Your Butt Out, and I'm saying to everybody who is listening to this podcast or this particular episode, you can't skip. We can't skip. We got to clean this mess up within ourselves first before we go into trying to clean up the. Let me say it like this. Thank you, Holy Spirit. God said, Jesus said it in the scriptures. Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these other things shall be added unto thee. That's what he said, right? Right? 100%. When y'all start to fix each yourselves, a lot of this other stuff is going to work itself out. It's that simple. When you all start to do the work on yourselves that need to be done, a lot of this other stuff is just going to automatically start to work itself out. Simplified. There's a life coach, a female life coach that I used to watch on television. She was on the Oprah Winfrey Network. Her name is Ayanna Van Zant. And she the name of her show was Ayanna Fix My Life. And she would, she was a life coach, and she would help couples, and she would help singles, and she would help, all kinds of people with coaching to better the quality of their lives and their relationships with one another, because it was some really broken relationships, and it wasn't the relationships on her show that was that needed to be focused on. It was the person or the people that was in the relationship that was called, because when God created relationships, there was nothing wrong with it. It's the people that come into relationships that mess it up. Now, this one particular episode, she was talking to this young lady. This young lady had asked to come on her show. And she said to the young lady, and it was so powerful. She said, when you find out who you are, you're not going to accept anything less. Here was that young lady's response to her beautiful quote, beautiful encouragement, beautiful advice. She got up and walked off the show. She got up and walked off the show, left the entire show, got in her, in her sleigh or whatever she got in, and she went away, never came back. I promise you, she didn't leave like that and go to some healthy relationships. Now, hopefully over the years, that beautiful encouragement resonated with her, and she's in healthy relationships now. But the point that I'm stressing is, when we start to do the work, getting all that stuff from up under the rugs of our lives, we're going to find and come to who we really are. And when we come to who we really are and know who we really are, we're not going to accept anything less. And what am I saying? That'll mean that if whatever relationship I'm in, that relationship or that person is going to know that we're going to do this relationship from a healthy standpoint. Now, I know we're not perfect. We're not going to do everything 100% perfect. We're not going to do that. For the most part, though, this relationship is going to be healthy. If I'm going to be in it, everybody in this relationship going to be healthy too, or doing some work to get healthy. That's what she meant by, when you find out who you are, you're not going to accept anything less. And again, people, and then I'll start to point in the direction of closing. As you continue to go to these marriage conference and seminars and workshops and coaching and therapy and all of the things of that nature, please stop looking at the marriage and ask one of them counselors, or therapists, or coaches, and you help me work on me. Or who do you know from a spiritual and or professional standpoint that you can refer me to that help me heal me and help me work on me? Because I'm here for the umpteenth time with my wife or with my husband because I've been skipping steps. Because I have been skipping steps. And I gotta say it again. I am a full-blooded Christian. I love being saved by Jesus. I love the people who I fellowship with, who I worship with. I love my church. I love all of the wonderful things that we're doing. But listen, we got to stop coddling each other. We got to stop. We got to say, okay, we got to get to a place where we're saying, okay, let's do the work on you. We're going to put this relationship to the side for a minute. And we're going to deal with the personal relationship, the one with you. So I'll deal with you and my counterpart or my colleague would deal with that with the other part of the relationship, right? Or the other part of the marriage, so that we can bring y'all together healthy. That's what we need to start doing. That's what we need to start doing, because like I said, again, I'm coming to the end. Like I said, I'm seeing a revolving door of services, of people getting service for the exact same thing. And recovery says if nothing changes, nothing changes. So if you don't change, you'll be back at another small group, workshop, therapy session with the same issues. So stop skipping. Please, y'all. Let's do the work. I'm willing to help. I know what it feels like. Been there many years. Been there many years. And me personally, I didn't get healthy. I didn't stop using drugs to be in to come to a relationship and be dysfunctional. I could have stayed getting high if that's the case. Because when I was getting high, I wasn't in a relationship. But I did not come. I remember, man, I keep saying I'm gonna close, but stuff keep coming up. I remember when I first came into recovery, I had that conversation with the person that I was in a relationship with at that time, because that person that I was with, wonderful person. However, it was some stuff that was going on that I just wasn't okay with, right? And I said to that person, I didn't start this. If this is how I was going to live, I might as well have kept getting high. I'm not getting high, so that means I'm not going to live like this. And you have to start to say the same thing in your relationships. You have to start to say the same thing to yourself first. And you have to start to do the same thing. And so again, let's help. Let's help one another. There is a solution. If there's a problem, there is a solution. If there is a problem, there's never been a problem without a solution. And there's never been a solution without a problem. So if there's a problem, there is a solution. And the simple, right? The simple of the solution is you can't skip. You got to do that step too. There's no elevator or escalator to success or healthy relationships. You got to take the stairs, one step at a time. Listen, y'all, thank y'all so much for tuning in with me, for having this conversation with me. Please let me know what you think, what you feel. You may know somebody that can use some of this information would be useful to. Have them subscribe, have them like, have them comment, have them post, have them repost, so that we can get this word out. How can we? It's simple. We need to start doing the work on ourselves first, and all of this other stuff will start to work itself out. I promise you that. The Bible says that it is. And my life is living proof. Again, I'm not perfect. I'm still a work in progress. However, I'm gonna tell you this. I am not where I used to be, and I am doing everything that I need to do for me to make sure that I never end up there again. And one thing is that I have to do the work on me, and I'm doing some work right now, even as I speak. So thank y'all again. I love you all. There's absolutely nothing you can do to change that. This is Paul, your hip hop relationship and recovery coach, leaving you with a couple of things, and that is be well, do the next right thing. God bless you all. And you either sitting on your butt or you standing on your why. I'll see y'all next time. And until then, deuces.